Do you think of coffee as the perfect morning companion? Energizing, uplifting, and even protective for the brain? For millions of people, that's absolutely true. Coffee is praised for boosting focus, improving mood, and even lowering certain disease risks. But here's the hidden truth. Once you pass 50, coffee isn't always your friend. In fact, for some people, even a single cup can quietly tip the body out of balance, triggering problems that most never connect back to caffeine at all. Scientific studies reveal that while coffee has benefits, it can also raise hidden risks for certain groups, sometimes with dangerous consequences. The danger is subtle, but very real. Yet the good news is this: if you know when to be cautious, you can still enjoy coffee wisely without harming your health. Welcome back to Seniors Over 50, the channel where we share science-backed nutrition tips to help you eat smarter, live stronger, and age with confidence. Today we're uncovering the 3 groups of people who should avoid coffee, and the last one is not only the most overlooked, but also the most dangerous. Let's get started. Number 1, coffee and sleep disorders or anxiety. Caffeine, the active stimulant in coffee, is one of the most widely consumed psychoactive substances in the world. While it is praised for its ability to enhance alertness and concentration, for individuals who suffer from sleep disorders or anxiety, its effects can be far more harmful than helpful. The underlying reason is that caffeine acts primarily on the central nervous system by blocking adenosine receptors. Adenosine is a neurotransmitter that builds up in the brain during waking hours and creates a natural pressure for sleep. By blocking this signal, caffeine delays sleep onset and reduces overall sleep quality. For people already struggling with insomnia, fragmented sleep, or anxiety, this interference can intensify symptoms and disrupt the body's natural circadian rhythm. Scientific studies consistently confirm this concern. According to the Sleep Foundation, the half-litre of caffeine in the human body is about 5 to 6 hours, meaning that it can take up to 10 hours for caffeine to be fully eliminated. This implies that a cup of coffee consumed at 3 p.m. may still be exerting stimulating effects at bedtime. A controlled study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that consuming 400 milligrams of caffeine, roughly equivalent to 4 cups of brewed coffee, even 6 hours before bedtime, reduced total sleep time by more than 1 hour in otherwise healthy adults. For older adults, particularly seniors over 50, the decline in metabolic efficiency makes caffeine clearance slower, which can further prolong its disruptive effects. Anxiety is another domain where caffeine can worsen outcomes. Because caffeine increases cortisol and adrenaline levels, it mimics the physiological symptoms of anxiety, such as rapid heartbeat, restlessness, and heightened arousal. A meta-analysis in General Hospital Psychiatry showed that caffeine intake above 300 mL per day significantly increased the risk of anxiety symptoms, particularly in individuals predisposed to panic attacks or generalized anxiety disorder. This means that even moderate consumption could push sensitive individuals into a heightened state of nervousness, creating a vicious cycle of poor sleep and elevated stress. However, it is important to note that caffeine is not universally harmful, even for those with sleep or anxiety issues. Research indicates that timing and dosage play critical roles. For example, a morning cup of coffee between 7 and 0 o'clock a.m. and 10 and 0 o'clock a.m. may provide benefits such as improved alertness and mood regulation without significantly effects would largely diminish by evening. In fact, moderate consumption, defined as less than 200 milligrams per day, about 1 to 2 small cups, has not been shown to cause significant harm in people with mild insomnia or occasional anxiety, provided it is restricted to the earlier part of the day. Additionally, some individuals may tolerate coffee better depending on genetic factors. Variations in the CYP1A2 enzyme, which metabolizes caffeine, can determine whether someone is a fast or slow caffeine metabolizer. Fast metabolizers may be able to consume coffee in moderate amounts without significant disruption, while slow metabolizers are more prone to experiencing prolonged stimulation and anxiety-like side effects. For seniors, however, the natural slowing of liver metabolism often makes them functionally closer to slow metabolizers, warranting extra caution. In practical terms, people with sleep disorders or anxiety should follow 3 evidence-based guidelines. First, avoid consuming coffee after 12 p.m. to minimize interference with nighttime sleep. Second, keep daily intake under 200 mg, equivalent to roughly 1 standard mug of brewed coffee. Third, consider alternative sources of alertness, such as short naps, herbal teas like chamomile, or relaxation practices that reduce reliance on caffeine. Under these conditions, limited coffee consumption can still be enjoyed without escalating the risks associated with disrupted sleep and heightened anxiety. Number 2, coffee and cardiovascular disease. Coffee is one of the most studied beverages in the world, and while it provides many people with increased alertness, antioxidants, and even potential longevity benefits, it can be problematic for those with cardiovascular disease, CVD. The main concern lies in caffeine's effects on the cardiovascular system. Caffeine acts as a stimulant by increasing catecholamine release, chemicals like adrenaline, which can elevate heart rate, blood pressure, and vascular resistance. For people with hypertension, arrhythmias, or coronary artery disease, these effects can aggravate existing conditions and increase the risk of acute episodes. Numerous studies provide evidence of this relationship. The American Heart Association, AHA, notes that caffeine can cause a short-term rise in blood pressure of 5-10 mmHg in sensitive individuals. For someone with uncontrolled hypertension, such increases can be clinically significant, pushing blood pressure into dangerous ranges. A 2021 cohort study analyzing data from more than 390,000 participants in the UK Biobank found that those consuming more than 6 cups of coffee per day had a 22% higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease compared with moderate drinkers. Furthermore, people with genetic variations in the CYP1A2 enzyme, classified as slow metabolizers, are particularly vulnerable, as caffeine remains longer in their system, exerting prolonged stimulatory effects on the heart and blood vessels. Cardiac arrhythmias are another major concern. Caffeine can increase sympathetic nervous system activity, which in turn may trigger palpitations or irregular heart rhythms in predisposed individuals. Patients with atrial fibrillation, ventricular tachycardia, or other rhythm disorders often report that coffee worsens their symptoms. A meta-analysis in Circulation, Arrhythmia and Electrophysiology indicated that while moderate intake, up to 300 mg/day, did not significantly increase arrhythmia risk in the general population, people with pre-existing arrhythmias were more likely to experience symptom flare-ups after caffeine consumption. That said, not all evidence is negative. Some large-scale observational studies have found that moderate coffee intake, defined as 2 to 3 cups per day, or roughly 200 and 300 milligrams of caffeine, is associated with lower risks of heart failure and stroke. This paradox may be explained by coffee's high content of polyphenols, such as chlorogenic acid, which improve endothelial function and reduce inflammation. The key difference is that these benefits appear in otherwise healthy individuals or in patients whose cardiovascular conditions are well managed with medication and lifestyle interventions. Timing and dosage are therefore critical for people with CVD. A single small cup of coffee in the morning may not pose a major risk, especially for individuals with stable blood pressure or well-controlled coronary artery disease. Consuming coffee early in the day allows the body ample time to metabolize caffeine before nighttime, reducing the likelihood of sleep disruption, a factor that can independently worsen heart disease risk. In contrast, large doses or repeated consumption throughout the day can create cumulative cardiovascular strain. Individual variability also matters. For example, a person with mild, well-controlled hypertension who is on medication may tolerate 1 cup of coffee without experiencing blood pressure spikes, while someone with severe, uncontrolled hypertension should avoid coffee entirely. Similarly, individuals with arrhythmias may be advised to either eliminate coffee or switch to decaffeinated options, which provide antioxidants without the stimulating effects of caffeine. Practical guidelines for this group include limiting caffeine intake to no more than 200 mg per day, about 1 to 2 small cups of brewed coffee, and avoiding concentrated sources such as energy drinks or espresso shots. Monitoring personal responses is equally important. If palpitations, chest discomfort, or dizziness occur after drinking coffee, discontinuation is strongly advised. Substitutes like herbal teas, rooibos, hibiscus, or chamomile or chicory-based coffee alternatives can provide the ritual and comfort of a hot beverage without the cardiovascular risks. Number 3. Coffee, bone health, and osteoporosis. Osteoporosis and fracture risk represent some of the most serious health concerns for people over 50. As bone mineral density declines naturally with age, the likelihood of fractures increases, and even small lifestyle factors can play a significant role in worsening or improving outcomes. Coffee, while widely loved, poses potential problems for bone health due to its caffeine content and its impact on calcium balance in the body. For seniors especially, women after menopause and men with low bone density, limiting coffee intake is crucial for maintaining skeletal strength. The primary mechanism by which coffee affects bone health is through increased calcium excretion. Caffeine is known to act as a mild diuretic, raising urinary calcium losses. According to data from the National Institutes of Health, every 100 mg of caffeine consumed, approximately the amount in a standard cup of coffee, can increase urinary calcium loss by 4 to 6 mg. While this may not seem significant for younger adults with robust calcium intake, in seniors whose diets are often calcium deficient, these losses accumulate over time and weaken bones. Scientific studies confirm this link. The Swedish mammography cohort, which followed 61,433 women over 19 years, reported that women consuming 4 or more cups of coffee per day had a 20% higher risk of hip fracture compared to those who drank less than 1 cup. Another meta-analysis published in Osteoporosis International found that high caffeine consumption, greater than 300 mg/day, was consistently associated with lower bone mineral density, BMD, particularly in postmenopausal women. Since fractures in seniors often lead to long-term disability or even higher mortality within 1 year after a hip fracture, the implications of excessive coffee intake are profound. Beyond calcium excretion, caffeine may also interfere with vitamin D metabolism, an essential nutrient for calcium absorption and bone formation. Vitamin D deficiency is already common in seniors due to reduced sun exposure and declining skin efficiency in synthesizing the vitamin. Coffee can therefore exacerbate this deficiency, creating a double burden on bone health. However, it is important to highlight that moderate coffee consumption does not necessarily doom bone health. In fact, research suggests that when calcium and vitamin D intake is adequate, the negative impact of caffeine is greatly reduced. The Framingham Osteoporosis study found that women who consumed over 300 milligrams of caffeine per day and had low calcium intake/day experienced significantly lower bone density. By contrast, women with adequate calcium intake showed little to no detrimental effect from coffee. This indicates that nutrient sufficiency can buffer some of coffee's risks. So when, if ever, can seniors with osteoporosis or fracture risk still enjoy coffee? Timing, portion size, and diet quality are key. A single cup of coffee in the morning, around 80 to 120 meters of caffeine, is unlikely to cause major harm if paired with a calcium-rich breakfast, for example, yogurt, fortified plant milk, or cheese. Limiting total daily caffeine intake to 200 meters or less, equivalent to about 2 small cups, is generally considered safe by most clinical guidelines, provided that the person maintains a daily calcium intake of 1,200 meters and vitamin D levels of 800-1,000 IU. Seniors should also avoid drinking coffee alongside calcium supplements, as caffeine can temporarily inhibit absorption. It is better to separate them by at least 1 to 2 hours. Practical substitutions can also help. Switching to half-caffeinated blends, green tea, or decaffeinated coffee allows individuals to enjoy the ritual and antioxidant benefits of coffee without the same risk of bone loss. Since coffee is also a source of polyphenols and may contribute to reduced risk of certain chronic diseases, eliminating it entirely may not be necessary for everyone. Instead, the strategy should be thoughtful moderation with an emphasis on bone-supportive nutrients. In the end, coffee can be a daily joy, but for some groups, those with sleep disorders, heart disease, or fragile bones, it may quietly do more harm than good. The key is not fear, but awareness and moderation. Knowing your body, your risks, and your limits allows you to enjoy life while protecting your health. After all, good habits after 50 are the foundation for stronger years ahead. What's your relationship with coffee? Share your thoughts below.